Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. It is pre-match build-up time. Liverpool taking on Manchester City in the second leg of our Champions League tie, having won the first leg by a whopping 3-0 scoreline. And obviously the big question on everyone's lips going into this tie is whether or not Man City can pull off an incredible comeback and pin Liverpool back by a 3-0 scoreline, or potentially even worse, and switch this tie around. And that puts Liverpool in a really weird position going into this game, because obviously, you know, 3-0 up, you think, okay, we can just see this out from here on in. And, you know, we had a similar situation with the game against Porto in the earlier round where we beat them 5-0. The tie was basically over before the second leg had even started. But with it being Man City, with it being Pep Guardiola's side, and with the talent that they've got in that team, and obviously on this massive Champions League stage, anything can happen, you know, and it is entirely possible that Liverpool could crumble. And that makes it difficult because we can't really look at this as a game where we can just look to see it out and, you know, defend a little bit, maybe get a couple of goals on the break or something like that, and just keep everything under the cosh and stuff like that. We've got to treat this like a proper competitive game, and I'm sure that Liverpool will do that. I'm sure that Jurgen Klopp and his players will all see that this tie is nowhere near over, and they will have to put in a really good performance. But it's just a weird one in terms of how you set up the team tactically. You know, obviously we might not want to go as gung-ho as we did in the first leg against Man City when we absolutely blitzed them in that first half, because that does leave a few spaces open at the back. But we also don't really want to sit back like we did at Anfield for the second half as well, because while we did stop Man City from having a single shot on target and we did defend incredibly well there, you do kind of wonder whether things might be a little bit different if we try to do that for an entire 90 minutes and also did that on Manchester City's own turf as well. And obviously Pep Guardiola will have been looking over that game, looking over the highlights of that second 45 minutes and trying to work out what went wrong. And I'm sure he will have come up with some system or some super clever tiki-taka kind of way to get round the defensive block that Liverpool put up. So yeah, a really difficult one to judge for Liverpool. It will be fascinating to see how it pans out. I reckon we're going to go for somewhere between the two. You know, we're not going to go gung-ho. We're not going to go at Man City's throats or anything like that. But we're also not going to sit back. I think what Liverpool will look to do is kind of the old-fashioned Mourinho masterclass, if you kind of get what I mean. You know, not doing the thing where you just park the bus and have no outlook going forward, but the thing where you basically let the opposition have a ball a little bit, let them come to you and wait for the moments where you suddenly go, bang, okay, here we go. This is the opportunity where we strike, we win the ball back, we press, and we get our goals. Because obviously Liverpool have got huge threats on the counter-attack, and that is probably their best opportunity of scoring in this game. So team news going into the tie, Liverpool have been handed a pretty big boost going into this game with the news that Mo Salah and Andrew Robertson should be absolutely fine. Obviously, the pair of them missed out of the Merseyside derby. Mo Salah came off injured in the first leg against Man City. Andrew Robertson seemed to be suffering some sort of strain or niggle that just kept him out of the derby for precautionary reasons. At the moment, according to Jurgen Klopp, it seems fairly sure amongst the club's medical staff that the pair of them will be absolutely fine to start this game. I think while obviously Mo Salah wasn't 100% for the derby, and because of that reason he was rested, if he's maybe at 90 or 95% for this game, we're a bit more likely to risk him, because obviously, unlike the derby, this is a massive game. This is a huge point in Liverpool's season, and it's a game that we absolutely have to come out with the right result for. So I reckon Liverpool will go with Mo Salah. I reckon we're going to go with Andrew Robertson as well for this game. Unfortunately, there will be no Emre Can. He is still nursing that back injury. A few people now getting a little bit suspicious about the fact that it's the same injury that Coutinho was potentially, you know, faking or something like that when he was trying to force a move out of the club. Personally, I think it might genuinely be a back injury because it kept him out of international duty as well. And, you know, Emre Can strikes me as the kind of player who, as much as he might be trying to force his way out of the club, we don't really know at the moment. It seems like he's waiting until the end of the season. He still seems to be the kind of player who would want to be playing football, and even if he does want to leave, putting himself in the shop window, especially on the massive stage that is the Champions League quarter-finals. So unfortunately, no Emre Can for this game. Apart from that, Liverpool managed to get out of the Merseyside derby unscathed, which, as I said, was one of our main aims going into that game was to avoid any injuries coming into the game against Man City, so that is a bonus. As for how I think we're actually going to line up, I reckon it's going to be Loris Karius in goal. No surprises there. Great save from Yannick Bolasie earlier on in the week in the Merseyside derby. Hopefully he can produce a few more heroics in this game to keep Liverpool in the tie. Centre-backs, Van Dijk and Lovren, no messing around there. Klavan obviously back from injury, played left-back in the Merseyside derby, so him and Lovren might be rotating a little bit between now and the end of the season, but I think Van Dijk and Lovren were a great partnership in that game on Wednesday night against Man City, so I'm expecting them to start this game again. Fullbacks, Andrew Robertson on the left, obviously back from injury. Liverpool's best left-back at the moment, had a brilliant performance against Man City on Wednesday night, hoping for another one of those in this tie. And then I'm thinking Trent Alexander-Arnold at right back. Nathaniel Clyne, obviously back from injury now, had a really, really good performance in the Merseyside derby, all things considered. You know, the fact that he hasn't played a game of competitive football for almost a year now, he looked really sharp, he looked really on it. It looks like he's been using that training to build himself back up to pretty much match sharpness, so that was great to see. I'm sure we will see Nathaniel Clyne more between now and the end of the season, but I think Trent Alexander-Arnold had a really, really good game against City on Wednesday night, and I mean, why knock the kid's confidence and knock his momentum as well by taking him out the side when he is performing like that? So you go with Alexander-Arnold, that completes the back four. Midfield, I think you're going with Wijnaldum in the 6. Obviously no Henderson, no Emre Can. Gini Wijnaldum had a really good audition in the number 6 role in the Merseyside derby. Obviously this will be a much, much sterner test, and this will probably be where we find out whether Gini Wijnaldum really has a long-term future potentially in that number 6 role for Liverpool, so that will be interesting. Hopefully I'm expecting Milner to start on one side of him, so Milner I reckon will be the one who kind of helps him through it and drops deep a little bit every now and then to give Wijnaldum a little bit of cover. On the other side of midfield, I think we're going with Oxlade-Chamberlain. I mean, there's no huge debate over what midfielders Liverpool are going to play in this game, because obviously we've only got 3 fit centre midfielders at the moment and 3 spots to fill, so no massive surprises there. But yeah, Gini Wijnaldum will play in the 6. James Milner will be a bit more box to box, hopefully giving Wijnaldum a little bit of protection when we haven't got the ball. And then Oxlade-Chamberlain will be that fast link up between the midfield and the attack. And speaking of the attack, picks itself, Mane, Firmino, Salah. Fingers crossed that Salah will definitely be available to start this game, because if he is, then Liverpool have got every chance, not just of getting through the tie, but winning this one as well. So Manchester City then, obviously a fantastic side, obviously clear favourites to win the Premier League. However, not in a great vein of form at the moment. They've conceded 3 in their last 2 games. Obviously the one against Liverpool in the Champions League, and then the Manchester derby yesterday evening. So there's a possibility that City are starting to rock a little bit. I think we're seeing what happens when they get put under serious pressure, because they've kind of benefited all the way through this season of being, you know, such a good team, of winning so many games, that the pressure's never really been on them to deliver big results on big stages. And now that it's finally coming onto them, City they're shaking a little bit, and obviously, you know, they are still a fantastic side, and I think above all else the player to watch out for in this game is Sergio Aguero. Wasn't available for them in the last game at Anfield, came off the bench in the Manchester derby and didn't look too bad. You know, it didn't look like he was off the pace too much. Probably should have had a penalty as well that would have given Man City a probable equaliser. So, you know, Sergio Aguero is the one to watch out for me, because if Man City are looking for goals and they're going to need a fair few to get back into this tie, then Sergio Aguero is their man for that. You know, Gabriel Jesus had a poor game against us on Wednesday night, didn't have a sniff at goal, obviously not getting great service, but Aguero is that kind of player where you give him the ball in the box and he can hurt you, and Liverpool are going to have to be so vigilant that they basically stop the ball from ever getting to Sergio Aguero in that 18-yard area, because if it does, then there's every chance that Man City could pull themselves back into this game. But like I said, City have got to score goals, and that kind of puts them in a position that Liverpool want them in, really, because we're a counter-attacking side, we're a counter-pressing side, so the idea of that Manchester City side coming at us and leaving all that space open at the back, you know, Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, Roberto Firmino will be absolutely licking their lips going into this game. So I still reckon Liverpool can get the result. You know, potentially it could be a draw, it could even be a narrow loss or something like that, but I think Liverpool absolutely should be getting this tie over and done with. Fingers crossed we can get a win as well. I think we probably will do it, and here are my 3 reasons why we will beat Manchester City. First of all, like I said, we have Manchester City right where we want them at the moment. You know, they will have to leave space around the back for Liverpool's players to exploit, and that is a perfect situation situation for Liverpool, really, because, you know, the other thing about City is that they do like to play it out from the back. They like their centre-backs to play the ball. We've seen countless times over the last few games the amount of times that Otamendi has been pushing out of defence, Kompany's been coming out of defence into a more midfield kind of role, and it's hurt Man City because they've left those spaces exposed. And if Liverpool do go for some kind of low block or something like that, those Manchester City centre-backs will just have to get involved in the attack. They won't really have any choice to do it. We've seen Liverpool in that position already this season. You know, the game against Swansea at the Liberty Stadium comes to mind, where Joel Matip and Virgil van Dijk were basically playing centre midfield in that game. And I think if Man City centre-backs have to do a similar thing in this game, then, you know, like I said, Firmino and Salah and Mane will be absolutely licking their lips at the ability to potentially, you know, just switch those pressing triggers on at the right moment, bring on the press and catch those Man City centre-backs out with the glorious space that I'm sure will be left behind them. So Liverpool have got plenty of opportunities to score goals here. And obviously, with the fact that Man City didn't get that away goal that they were so desperate for at Anfield in the first leg, if Liverpool get a goal in this tie, Man City have to score 5. So it's kind of like the one we had against Man United a few years ago in the Europa League, where as soon as we got the goal at Old Trafford, that was the tie dead and buried. And I think that's what Liverpool have got to look to do, is especially get the first goal as well. I think that is hugely important in this tie. If Man City get the first goal, they suddenly get a little bit of belief in them. Suddenly they think, okay, we're only 2 goals away from coming back into this. If Liverpool get the first goal, they absolutely murder the tie. So I think as long as we get a goal, preferably in the first half as well, and preferably before Man City get one, the tie will be killed off and Liverpool will probably be on course, not just for qualification for the semi-finals, but a win on the night as well. And second of all, kind of ties into what I was saying about Man City being right where we want them. Their defence has looked incredibly suspect over the last couple of games. You know, like I said, they've conceded 3 in their last 2 games, both of the games, and their defence has been quite badly exposed. Otamendi hasn't looked good at all. Like I said, he loves to get out and play that kind of midfield centre-back role, and it is causing him problems because he keeps getting caught out. It's one of the first times this season where that Man City back line is starting to get put under serious pressure, and it does look like it maybe isn't quite as much up to the challenge as people thought earlier on. Obviously, they've got Vincent Kompany, and he will look to kind of be the Van Dijk figure with them, in that he will try and marshal them. He'll try and keep their confidence up. He'll try and keep their concentration up as well. But what Liverpool have got to do is try and isolate those players, and that's what our system does so well. You know, it isolates defenders in situations when they haven't got their players around them to help them out. You know, if we catch Fabian Delph or Nicholas Otamendi or Kyle Walker out dawdling on the ball, we need to get them into a position where they can't look to Vincent Kompany to help them out, and that is something that Liverpool do so incredibly well. And obviously those fullbacks, Delph and Walker, that's who I'm kind of expecting to start this game, because obviously Laporte played in the first leg, but he doesn't offer enough of an attacking outlet, and City do have to absolutely go for goals in this game. Those 2 centre-backs, Otamendi and Kompany, will be under intense scrutiny, and I'd back our attack to absolutely maul them to bits as a result. And finally, the fact that we have got Mohamed Salah fit and available for this game cannot be understated. You know, the importance of that in making sure we get out of this tie alive is absolutely massive, because like I said, Liverpool will look to counter-attack. They'll look to get goals that way, and we probably won't have too many opportunities as well. You know, Man City will probably dominate the ball. They'll probably dominate those spaces on the pitch. A lot of the game will probably end up being played in Liverpool's half, because that's just how the situation dictates that it will be played. So Liverpool won't get too many opportunities, but when they do, they will hopefully be counter-attacks. They'll hopefully be opportunities when Liverpool can use their speed to get forward and create clear-cut chances. And Mo Salah is the perfect player for those kind of situations. You know, Mo Salah is the kind of player, we saw it against Crystal Palace as well, where if you give him one chance, it doesn't matter what the situation is, he can put it away and he can change the result for Liverpool. So hopefully Mo Salah can be the difference for us in this, and we can win the game. So that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, why not give it a like? I'll be back on Tuesday night for the post-match reaction after Liverpool have hopefully beaten Man City and got through to the semi-finals of the Champions League. Sounds brilliant just to say it. But yeah, don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button there if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back on Tuesday night for the post-match reaction. Bye for now.